Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into ONPASSIVE, a platform that's making a pretty bold claim for 2025. It wants to be the ultimate AI sidekick for every single entrepreneur out there.
All right, so let's just jump right into the core idea because it's a big one. The whole thing kicks off with this vision of a business that basically runs itself. I mean, for any entrepreneur listening, that's the dream, right? Building something that works for you instead of you constantly working for it. But then, bam, reality hits. That dream gets slapped with the cold, hard truth that most business owners are living. It's this constant grind, fighting rising costs, trying to stand out in a super crowded market, and feeling that pressure to be available 24/7. So that brings us to this idea of the modern business battlefield. What exactly are we up against in 2025? It's way more than just having a good idea or a great product anymore. Okay, so the source material really breaks it down into 4 key challenges. First up, you've got competitors who are already using AI to get ahead. Then there's the expectation that your business is open and online all the time, no exceptions. On top of that, the cost of, everything, ads, tools, staff, it's just going through the roof. And last but not least, there's this huge pressure to think globally. But how do you do that without a giant pile of cash? And that leads us to this really eye-opening number, 80%. By 2025, that's how many businesses are expected to be using AI automation. Think about that for a second. It means AI is no longer just a cool advantage for the big players. It's becoming the basic price of admission just to stay in the game. Okay, so with that problem laid out, this is where OnPassive comes into the story. Founded by Ash Mufareh, it's basically designed to be the solution to that whole business battlefield we were just talking about. So what is it? Well, the source material is clear. Don't just think of it as another piece of software. It's pitched as a full-blown AI ecosystem. The main idea is to give entrepreneurs these really powerful, ready-to-go digital tools that do all the hard work for them. Okay, that sounds great in theory, but how does it actually tackle those big problems we mentioned earlier? Let's break it down, problem by problem. First up, problem number 1, just getting seen. Let's be real, in today's digital noise, if people can't find you, you're pretty much invisible. So, OnPassive's answer to this? AI-powered marketing campaigns that are totally automated. The whole point is to have the system go out and find the right people at the right time, so you're not just shouting into the void or spending a fortune on ads that don't work. All right, on to the next big one, the resource crunch. What do you do when you don't have the money for a big team or, the 20 different software subscriptions everyone says you need? And the solution here is pretty straightforward. Slash your costs. The claim is that this one platform can replace more than 20 of those individual tools, potentially cutting your software bill by up to 70%. That's huge. Okay, so what about when things start going right? You start getting traction, but then? How do you scale? How do you grow if you're stuck doing everything by hand and you just can't keep up? The answer, again, is automation, but on a whole new level. We're talking about automating the entire process, from the moment someone shows interest to the final sale. It's designed to run around the clock so your business can grow without you having to frantically hire a bunch of new people. And finally, we've got a 2-for-1 problem here, but they're both absolutely critical. Customer support and getting paid. I mean, how do you keep customers happy and handle payments when you're dealing with people all over the world? The ecosystem tackles this with 2 specific tools. For support, there's OChat, which is basically an AI chatbot that's on duty 24/7. And for payments, there's OWallet, which is built to make global transactions simple and secure. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because the source material puts OnPassive head-to-head with the old way of doing things. It's a direct comparison, focusing on the big 4, how much it costs, how well everything works together, the level of AI you get, and of course, how easy it is to grow. Okay, so with all these tools and solutions, what does the journey actually look like for someone who signs up? How do you get from point A to a fully functioning, automated business? Well, it's laid out as a pretty clear 4-step plan. Step 1, you just get registered and verified. Simple enough. Step 2, you actually build out your system, your online store, your webinar, whatever it is. Step 3 is the magic part. You let the AI take over and start driving traffic. And finally, step 4, you monetize. That's through your own sales, but also through referrals. And really, this whole process ties right back into that initial vision from the founder, Ash Mufareh. The big idea here isn't just to sell a product. It's about giving every entrepreneur a real shot at building a business that lasts, one that can thrive on its own in this crazy digital age. So, we're left with this one last pretty intense question, and it really reframes the whole conversation. It's not just about buying some new tech. It's a strategic choice. Looking ahead to 2025, in a world completely driven by AI, are you going to just try to keep up, or are you going to be the one leading the pack?
All right, let's talk about a name you might be hearing a lot lately, ONPASSIVE. They're making some pretty huge claims about an AI-driven financial future. But, what does that even mean? We're going to break down what this thing is, how it's supposed to work, and get into the really big debate that's swirling around it.
So let's just cut to the chase, right? The whole conversation about ONPASSIVE, all of it, really just comes down to this one single question. Can an AI ecosystem actually change your financial future? That's a huge, huge claim. And you'll see the source material we're looking at has some pretty strong opinions on both sides. So let's dig in and see what's what.
All right, first things first, we've got to understand the core promise of ONPASSIVE, because believe me, it's this promise that has people either all in or, extremely skeptical.
It's wild. When you look into this company, there's practically no middle ground. It's totally polarized. In one corner, you've got the believers. These are the folks, the early adopters, who are convinced this is a revolutionary movement that's going to create brand new ways to make money. But then in the other corner, you have the skeptic, and they're asking, hang on, is this just a ton of hype? What are the real risks here? And that's the core conflict we're going to spend our time on.
Okay, so to really get a handle on that tension, we've got to pop the hood and see what's actually running this thing. Let's get into our next section and find out what this AI ecosystem is all about. So the whole thing starts with this really ambitious vision from the CEO, Ash Mafare. The idea is basically this: use AI to do all the hard stuff that makes most people give up when they try to build something online. We're talking about the soul-crushing parts, like marketing, finding customers, all the daily operational headaches. The whole point is to just get rid of those roadblocks for everybody. And this vision isn't just talk, it's built on a whole bunch of actual tools. You've got stuff you'd probably expect, right? Like OConnect for video calls or OShop for selling things online. But then you get into the really foundational stuff, like OWallet for handling money and OVerify for proving who you are. And those pieces are absolutely critical because they're trying to build this whole, secure, self-contained world. The idea is for it to be like a complete digital Swiss Army knife for business. And here's the real kicker, the main selling point. They're saying, stop juggling a million different apps and subscriptions from a dozen different companies. You know that feeling, right? The big idea here is one subscription gets you everything. The whole interconnected shebang. Simplicity and having everything work together, that's the name of the game. Okay, so the tools make sense. But let's be real, the big question is about the money. How is any of this supposed to actually make you an income? Time to dive into the financial side of things.
So, according to the sources, there are a few ways this works. You've got the straightforward stuff. You can sell the products directly, or you can refer other people to the platform. Standard stuff. But then there's the third way, and this is the really juicy part of the promise. The idea is that you can earn money passively because the system's AI is supposedly out there finding customers for you. And if you want to get inside the head of a believer, check out this quote we pulled. An early user, Mary, says her commissions just multiplied. And she believes the official launch is going to, and I'm quoting her here, open the floodgates. That's some powerful language.
But, of course, that kind of excitement immediately brings us back to the skeptic's point of view. You gotta ask, right? It sounds amazing, but how much can a regular person realistically expect to make? Is this whole thing even sustainable? And what's the catch? There's always a catch, isn't there?
Well, the supporters will point you to this number right here, over 12.5 million. The claim is that the ONPASSIVE ecosystem is already getting that much traffic. They use this as proof that, hey, people are already here. There's a huge user base ready to go. Now, it's worth noting the source doesn't break down how many of those are paying subscribers versus just free accounts, but it's still a pretty big number.
And that number leads directly to what might be the biggest argument for getting involved now. It's all about timing. The pitch is that you can get a first-mover advantage. Basically, get your foot in the door before this supposedly massive wave of global traffic hits. Think of it like being offered a chance to invest in a giant tech company back when it was still in a garage.
And that massive wave isn't just some vague future thing. There's a date circled on the calendar, July 24th, 2025. That's the day they're saying the whole thing goes live globally. The full ecosystem, the full commission system, everything gets switched on.
It's positioned as the moment the starting gun fires, for real. All right, so we've looked at the tools, we've looked at the money, and we've got the timeline. Now it's time to put it all together. In our final section, let's look at how the source material stacks up the big opportunity against the very real risks. So, when you boil it all down, this is the final equation. On one side, you have the opportunity. That's all about getting in early, that first mover advantage we talked about, and being part of this integrated system. But on the other side, you've got the risks. And these are things like, what about all the other companies out there? And what about the nightmare of global financial rules? Interestingly, the source even frames not deciding as a risk in itself, the classic fear of missing out if this thing really takes off. So what's ONPASSIVE's answer to those risks? Well, they argue they have a two-part defense. First, they say because everything is so interconnected, it's an all-in-one deal, it's just really hard for a competitor to copy. And for the whole regulation headache, that's what O-Verify is for. It's their tool built from the ground up to deal with global compliance and make sure transactions are secure. And for anything involving money, that part is non-negotiable.
So in the end, the source material basically lays out a choice for you, and it feels like there's a ticking clock attached. We've gone through the platform, the big promises, and the potential pitfalls. So the final question really isn't about what the company thinks. It's about you. After seeing all this, are you ready?
All right, let's dive right in. Forget trying to predict the future with some crystal ball, because here's the thing. The future of business isn't some far-off concept anymore. It is happening right now. Today, we're cracking open the 2025 playbook, and we're going to give you the exact strategic moves you need to be making, all based on a really comprehensive new trends report. Let's get to it.
You know, this quote just absolutely nails it. For years, we've been hearing about how things like AI and the creator economy were emerging. Well, guess what? They've emerged. In 2025, these aren't just theories you can afford to ignore anymore. They are the core, operational reality of how you build, how you market, and how you scale a business, period. So, with all this change, how do you even begin to navigate it? Well, the good news is we can boil all these huge trends down into 3 fundamental pillars. I want you to think of it like the new operating system for your business in 2025. Let's break that down.
Okay, so it all starts with pervasive AI. And let me be clear, AI isn't a cool new feature anymore. It's the new electricity. It's the infrastructure powering everything you do. But you know, all that power, it attracts attention, and that leads to pillar 2, regulation and trust. Governments are stepping in, and your customers are demanding security. That means compliance is now a core product feature. And wrapping all this up is the distributed creator economy, this massive global network of talent that you have to tap into if you want to compete.
And inside that AI pillar, there's a key term you really need to get familiar with: agentic AI. I mean, forget just generating some text or a picture. We're talking about AI that can actually act. These are systems that can automate entire workflows, from doing your sales follow-ups to generating code, all without you giving it step-by-step instructions. This is where the real, serious operational leverage in 2025 is going to come from. And if you think these are still fringe technologies, take a look at this. We are now seeing major Swiss banks. I'm not talking about startups. I'm talking about banks using public blockchains for actual binding payments. This isn't just speculation anymore, folks. This signals a huge shift where these tools are being used for serious, real-world applications like making affiliate payouts way faster or creating entirely new revenue models. Okay, so that's the big picture. But what does all of this actually mean for your day-to-day strategy? And maybe more importantly, what does it mean for your bottom line? Let's get into what this new strategic reality looks like for you. You've got to understand that every single one of these trends is a two-sided coin. On one side, you've got these amazing opportunities, exponential leverage from AI, access to global talent. But on the other side of that same coin, you've got serious risks, like crippling compliance penalties or just shocking compute costs that come out of nowhere. The truth is, you simply cannot get the upside here without actively, and I mean actively, managing the downside. Let's make this really real for a second. Picture a SaaS founder. They've integrated a powerful new AI feature into their product. The customers absolutely love it, right? But behind the scenes, the compute costs, the price they pay to run that powerful AI model every single time a user makes a query, are just skyrocketing. It's totally eating into their margins and honestly threatening the viability of the whole product. And trust me, this is a problem that is happening everywhere right now. So how did they fix it? Well, they got smart.
They didn't just keep using some massive general-purpose AI. No. Instead, they switched to smaller, specialized models that were trained to do their one exact task. And the result? A staggering 60% drop in the cost per query. It's a perfect example of how making a strategic adaptation is what's going to protect your bottom line in this new world.
Look, understanding all these trends is one thing, but actually acting on them, that's a whole other ballgame. So what should you do on Monday morning? Let's translate all this strategy into a concrete 30-day plan you can start using immediately to build your foundation.
Here are your first 3 moves. Number 1, audit your AI. You cannot control what you don't measure, so you need to map out every single AI feature, every data source, and every cost associated with it. Second, run a security check. This is totally non-negotiable. Mandate 2-factor authentication across the board. And third, take a hard look at your affiliate terms. Your partners are crucial, so make sure your payout rules are crystal clear and maybe even explore ways to pay them faster. It's all about gaining visibility and control, right now.
And hey, look how simple building trust can be. This right here is called a model card. It's not a bunch of legal jargon, it's just a plain language statement that tells your users exactly how you use AI. You can literally copy this template, fill in your details, and post it on your website today. This one small step is a giant leap for transparency and building real customer trust.
So we've got the trends, and we have a plan. But the final piece of the puzzle isn't really about tactics, it's about mindset. To truly thrive in this new environment, you need to operate with these new rules baked right into your company's DNA. So the real question is, are you ready for that?
Let's run a quick diagnostic. Just ask yourself these questions, a quick yes or no. Do you have an AI inventory? Are your compute costs actually baked into your pricing model? Do you have a documented incident response plan for when things go wrong? And can you pay your partners in under 30 days? Be honest with yourself. If you answered no to more than one of these, you have some urgent work to do.
Because ultimately, that is what it all comes down to. The landscape has fundamentally changed. The new operating system is installed, and the playbook is right here, in your hands. The only question left is, are you ready to get on the field and actually run the place?
All right, today we are diving deep into the ONPASSIVE platform to take a look at its brand new financial system. We're going to break down exactly how it all works, from getting a refund to earning commissions, all based on what the platform itself has explained. So let's get right into it.
First, just think about this for a second. How does a massive global platform actually manage money for people in over 200 different countries? I mean, you've got all these different currencies, completely different banking laws, not to mention the constant risk of fraud. It's an incredibly complex puzzle, and that's really the core problem this new ONPASSIVE system was built to solve.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll get into why a new system was even necessary. Then, we'll walk through the nuts and bolts of refunds and commissions. After that, we're going to look at the tech that makes it all happen, the digital wallet and passport. And to wrap it all up, we'll talk about the big picture vision behind it all, fairness and security.
Right, so Section 1, why build a whole new system from the ground up? Well, to really get why this new approach is such a big deal, you first have to understand the old problems it was designed to fix. It's really that classic story of moving from something super complex to something clean and streamlined.
And this slide really lays out the night and day difference. In the past, users were dealing with payout delays, they had to go through confusing manual requests, and there was no way to actually track their earnings in real time. The new system tackles every single one of those issues, swapping out those slow manual steps for a process that's automated, instant, and totally transparent.
So, what does this new streamlined approach look like in practice? Well, let's start with something that's super important for any user, getting your money back. This whole next section is about the new refund process.
The whole thing has basically been boiled down to these 4 automated steps. You submit a request, the system instantly verifies it's you, it checks the request against platform policies, and bam, the money is released. No more endless back and forth emails or waiting around for someone to manually approve things.
And what's the result of all that automation? Speed. Most refund requests are now getting processed in just 24 to 48 hours. That kind of turnaround is a direct result of how this new system was designed.
Okay, so we've gone from getting money back to making money. Section 3 is all about how commissions are earned. And the key phrase to remember here is real-time rewards. That phrase tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the philosophy here. So the way earnings are structured is pretty straightforward. You've got 3 tiers. First, there are direct commissions, which you get from your own personal referrals. Then you have team commissions, which are based on how your whole network is performing. And finally, there are bonus pools, which are basically special incentives for the top performers.
Now, this is the really crucial point. It doesn't matter which tier the earnings come from, they all flow directly and instantly into your digital wallet. There's no more waiting for a weekly or monthly payout. The second you earn it, it's yours. And that, of course, leads us right to
the engine that's powering this entire system, the digital wallet and its security features. This section is all about the core technology, called OWallet and OVerify, that actually makes all of these instant and secure transactions possible. The easiest way to think about the OWallet is like it's your own personal bank, right inside the ONPASSIVE ecosystem. It's the central hub where all your money, whether it's from commissions or refunds, is held securely. And from there, you're the one in control. You decide what happens next.
Let's use a real-world example they gave. Say there's a user named Mary in Canada, and she earns a $500 commission. That money lands instantly in her OWallet. She then decides, okay, I'm going to transfer $300 of that to my personal bank account, and I'll keep the other $200 right here in my OWallet to pay for my next subscription upgrade. It just shows the kind of flexibility you have to manage your own funds.
So you're probably asking, how is all of this kept secure? That is where OVerify comes into play. And the source material uses this perfect analogy. OVerify acts like a high-tech digital passport. Every single important financial action, like trying to withdraw money, requires this passport to prove you are who you say you are. It's a fantastic way to make sure only you can ever access your funds.
And that brings us to our final section, the vision. You see, all of these features we've just talked about, the speed, the automation, the security, they aren't just technical bells and whistles. They're all built on top of a core philosophy of fairness and security.
The entire system is really built on these three pillars. You've got security, which is handled by things like AI and biometrics. You've got transparency, thanks to those real-time dashboards where you can always see exactly what's happening with your money. And you've got compliance, which means it follows major international financial rules so it can operate legally all over the world. So, to wrap it all up, the stated goal here is pretty simple, but it's also really ambitious: to create a financial ecosystem that is faster, fairer, and more secure for every single user on the platform, no matter where in the world they happen to be.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As more and more of our financial lives happen online, it raises a much bigger question for all of us, doesn't it? What new standards for things like speed, transparency, and security should we, as users, start demanding from every single platform we use? Thanks for tuning in.